As a woman in tech starting out, my title meant everything to me. And then that changed. It looked like my title that I was living the dream life, right? But inside, I was burnt out. I was tired. It's okay to mess up. Failure is a great step to success because all you do is just course correct and then change your journey.
Sometimes you have to just choose yourself over what the others expect from you.
Hosted by Gabriella Vacca, you're listening to the eCareers podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Gabriella Vacca. I'm a founding advisor and ambassador for Eve Careers. And today we have a special topic, which is called Behind the Title with Stephanie, and we're talking about transition. Now, I'm super excited because you are going to hear from her bio how she moved from an education and an early career built on what I would define hard skills into something completely different as an entrepreneur and the founder of the Career Freedom Accelerator, which is, she's going to explain what it is, but it really spoke to me because eventually in my midlife crisis, I did go through that sense of liberation, Stephanie, that we were just talking about it. And it was really important for my career. But let me read the bio as you always do because I don't want to miss anything. So, Stephanie earned her PhD in applied mathematics before building a 25 plus career that took her from software engineering to executive director of engineering, leading global teams across 7 countries, and delivering SaaS, cloud, and data platform that generated over $1 million in revenue. Her journey spans debugging NASA research project, no kidding here, serving at the Pentagon on real-time communication, another no kidding type of section of your career, and driving engineering and innovation at companies like Cisco and NCR. She's also served and contributed to strategic insight, to innovation and growth for these companies. After decades in tech leadership, Stephanie made really a major shift, choosing freedom, impact, and a life design on her term. And who wouldn't want that? My goodness. So today she helps engineer, tech leaders, and entrepreneurs move from stuck and uncertain to clear, confident, and in control of their career through her signature Career Freedom Accelerator. So before we start, I mentioned the Career Freedom Accelerator, and I'm excited about it. What is it?
The Career Freedom Accelerator, it's not modules, it's not a program. It's really a high touch accelerator that in 6 weeks allows you with confidence and clarity and control to shift and next level into your dream career so that you can have the life that you deserve.
So in a way, it's an enabling framework for a transition, right?
A
Which is
thousand percent.
exactly the theme that
Yeah.
we have for today. But before we start, specifically talk about the transition that you did, I wanted to get a little bit. I want everybody to know a little bit more about you. What's behind I call it behind the title. Right. So what's your story behind the title, Stephanie?
So a lot of people hear engineering exec or PhD and they think that I had it all planned out, right?
Yep.
Well, I was just a young girl in Mississippi who loved math, and I almost threw it all away in college. I didn't go to class, I didn't focus on school, and the math professors, they sat me down, they all came together and they said, Stephanie, you're throwing away your potential. And that actually changed my life and changed my direction and enabled me to become a woman in engineering the way that I am today. And this is definitely a up and down journey. I created my own path, right? I found mentors and sponsors and the right people around me. And as a single mom of 2 sons, I actually defined remote work before remote work was even a concept. I had doors open that I found and I enabled. There were ups, right? There was layoffs and depressions, and my son's father and my father passed in the same year. Those are downs, and then there was ups. I had ups, PhD, my son's $100 million project. I had downs, layoff, depressions. I lost my father and my son's father all in the same year. But this is who my journey is what made me who I am today. My title is just my headline, right? And my journey that was messy and fun, it's actually what I'm most proud of, Gabriella.
I bet, I bet. It's the fact that is that we, as women, but men, everybody, we want to achieve specific objective in our careers. But so the title is a huge goal that we have. But at the end of the day, when we go to bed at night, right, we are solo. So we are with ourselves, with the struggle that we had, with the achievement, with all the uncertainties and so forth. And what is interesting is that the people that sometimes the people we work with, they see the projection that we want to give at work, they see the title, but they don't see what's behind it, right? So in
Right.
your going back to your engineering career in those some of those tough environment, did you have a sense that the title was masking the real you, or that maybe the people that you were working with had a different perspective of the real Stephanie?
I can say that a lot of times I actually hid behind the title, right? So, what's so important is that your worth does not equal your title, right?
Right.
So after a long time, I realized that your title is temporary and your identity is permanent. So let me say that again. Your title is temporary and your identity is permanent. What do I mean by identity? That is your reputation, your values, how people perceive you, who you show up as. Some of you might think that that is you've heard personal brand is out there, right? That's the new buzzword. But as a woman in tech, starting out, my title meant everything to me. And then that changed. I knew what mattered was my sons, my freedom, the life that I had. And I knew that through my experiences, right, whether it was a engineer or Fortune 500 exec or whether it was an entrepreneur, that what did not matter, my experiences were not my promotion. My worth was not my paycheck. My worth was not my LinkedIn profile, for example. What my worth is, what your worth is, what everyone's worth is who we are, how we live, who we help, and how we show up when no one is watching. That is what is most important. Who is that real you?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And in your, it's very important to me and to everybody else here, that you mention all the ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
One of the exercises that I like that I did and I suggest that people I coach is to do what I call the energy map, which is something that basically really goes back to when you were a child and maps your energy level in your different phases of life. It doesn't matter if it's perfect or not, but what you see is exactly the ups and downs, and sometimes the inflection point, the decisions, the key decision, the sliding doors, we call them, that were important in your career. So you had one that was obviously huge when you decided, not just felt, but you decided intentionally that you wanted to change your life, right? And you said it, you picked freedom and your own shaping your own life versus the structure work that you had. How many other inflection point you had in your life, and how did you go through one to the next phase, especially when we had those downs, that personal level that seems to destroy
So
everything around us?
So first, let me talk about my transition from corp exec to coach. So on paper, right, it looked great. I was, a corporate executive. I had global engineering teams. I was successful at work. It looked like my title that I was living the dream life, right? But inside, I was burnt out. I was tired. I wasn't waking up excited every day to like throw the covers off and say, "Let's start the day,"
Yeah.
right? And so I knew that I had to make a change. So the first thing is recognizing that even though it might look like you're living the life you want to live with, you have to identify this is not where I want to be, right? And so I realized that I had to take a risk and I had to make a change because I wanted that freedom. So the next thing is you have to figure out what is it you want, right? I wanted the freedom to be with my sons, to help the people the way I wanted to help them, to live the life I wanted to have, and to even have that financial freedom. So you identify where you want to go, but you have to be willing to make the risk. Take the risk because I made so many mistakes. I started the wrong business. I lost customers. I didn't implement the right systems. I was a new entrepreneur, so I didn't know what to do. So the next message is, regardless of what that transition in your life, it's okay to mess up, right? Failure is a great step to success because all you do is just course correct and then change your journey. So we have to talk about that. Even though you look good on paper, you have to recognize that you need a change. Then you have to say, what is that change? I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to make the mistakes. And then once that happens and you're on the right journey, you have to sit there and celebrate, right?
Ah,
Celebrate that you're now on the right path. And that particular transition, I realized that it wasn't just a career shift, it was a life shift, right? So important. So you have to do what's right for you. You don't need to stay in a job that has a toxic culture or you're not passionate about. And it's okay to leave that table or leave that room or find something that's right for you because you need to be enjoying your life and your job today.
yeah. Stephanie, you're making me think about one of the topic that I covered the last week with Bianca, and we talked about the solitude of leadership. But you're
Uh,
making me think about that when you make so drastic choices in your life because you have a vision that is certainly different than your old you, in a way, you accept the risk, you accept the solitude, you accept a way that is not as easy as the path. So I'm sure that some people around you say, listen, you have a job, you're successful, why don't you just stay with it? So it's kind of hard to leave those steps, and sometimes you have to just choose yourself over what the others expect from you. Am I thoughts about this?
and let's talk about solitude versus loneliness,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay. Good point.
So leadership, can have solitude. Sometimes you need that solitude, but what you really want to try to do is move away from that loneliness. And there have been times in my career when I felt that loneliness, when I had a professor who told me that women can't be engineers, right? When I got
Goodness.
passed over yes, when I got passed over so I had imposter syndrome. I didn't think I was good enough, or I got passed over for a promotion because I was too aggressive, right? Or I was in a meeting room with all men and I was the tech lead, and somebody said, go get everybody coffee, right? So at those times, I had a sense of loneliness. So, how do you overcome that loneliness, right? So, one thing I did was you really want to surround yourself with people who are like-minded or matter to you. So, I lived in the county Gwinnett, and so I founded the Gwinnett Regional Organization for Women, GROW, right? And it was just 20 women going to lunch once a week, like-minded, supporting each other. So surrounding yourself with those right people to move away from that loneliness. And so Stephen Covey had his uh, circle of influence, right? And you really want to focus on that interior, your circle of control, the people that you want to connect with, the people who raise you up, and not the people who bring you down. You want to get them out of your life, right? But to get rid of that loneliness. And like I said, solitude's okay because you can have that solitude and people can be following you because you are the leader because of that solitude,
True.
right? And not have that loneliness. But it's so important that you have that connection, right? To show the human side of yourself. So it's so important that you learn who you are, in those moments of crisis or chaos or loneliness, and that you build the right community around you so that you no longer have that loneliness.
So for everybody who is, I mean, this is touching the experience of so many women, and you know that because you're coaching many people as they grow and they feel liberated. But the this concept of really staying when you are in a crisis or when you feel that you're lonely. Maybe one of the natural, what you would do naturally is just, it just get on your bed in your blanket and close yourself up. So you are giving us an input that is completely different. Is when you feel that you are the most vulnerable and risk, and you're taking a very, very hard decision, give yourself permission to extend your hand for help to others, right? Because we
Yeah.
grow through sisterhood that is there. I found that I love the fact that right now that I'm transition, right? I'm reaching out for people, women and men, and I found so many people willing to talk to me and give me insight, support, and so forth. So this is valid for everybody out there around there.
And yes, and it's so important that in those moments that you take action, because when you take action, you can feel good about that action, or you can celebrate those wins, and that builds your confidence. So one small step a day, right? Even 1% improvement or 1% change or one small step
Yeah.
brings you to the next step and the next step. So the more, and one of the things I say is in life to live with intention. That means every moment in life has intention, and every moment in life you take some type of action towards the life that you want, and you will build that confidence and you will build that momentum, and it can help you to move from that state of crisis to a state of where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I wanted to touch a little bit of a different subject, which is when you are transitioning, right? I mean, intentionally trying to recreate your own what you do for life and maybe change your identity a little bit. You constantly face the perception of people around you who just expect your old you to be, what they want, what they like, what they were used to, but you are actually, changing yourself. So
Right.
I'm interested to know if it's, we live it with intention, but do you say to others that you are in this time of transition, and maybe you have, in some cases, you may be very clear where you're going. In some other cases, you're still searching. So, how open are you with others? Because some of those people have a perception on you, which is actually could be future client of yours, or who knows. So it's a little bit of a tricky balance, the one that we have to define, I guess. What's your thought about it?
So I think during that transition and during that, people expect something, the old you, and how do you show
Right.
up as the new you, and how do you show up with honesty? And maybe it's people that you've never met before. And so it's really about authenticity and honesty. You don't have to share all of your fears and doubts and where you were and where you're going, but you can share your wins. But it's so important that you make the connection, that you are human, that you are relatable, that people get to know the real you. Because whether it's the old you or the real you still have that same internal identity, right? That's never going to change. Your reputation, your values, your desires, your quirks, your the weird things about you, right? That's what people remember. That's what makes you you, and that's what. So as you're changing, you need to realize that life is about connection, right? And connection is about being authentic, and it is not, absolutely not about perfection. Perfection is boring. When people get to know you, when I say be honest and authentic and you don't have to share your fears and doubt, that doesn't mean be perfect. That just
Yeah,
means be you, right? Because when you are perfect, you're boring, and people might they might have imposter syndrome, or
yeah.
they might do the comparison trap and compare themselves to you and like they're not good enough. So that connection is really your quirks, your humanness, that authenticity builds that new trust for the new you and really gives you the outcomes and the relationships that you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, totally, totally. So, if I had to summarize our conversations right now in three words or three concepts, I would say, first of all, tons of courage and embracing the opportunities, right? One. The second is what you mentioned, which I'm going to paraphrase as daily steps, baby steps. Movement is life, right? So
Yeah.
as
Oh,
long as
yeah.
we keep on learning and moving, we're gonna get somewhere, right?
Yes.
And then the third is what just Stephanie just said, which is a connection to others. Give yourself the permission to say help. Sometimes it's help through let's call it friends and families or colleague or the sisterhood or whatever we want. Sometimes it's a little bit more professional help, right?
Yes.
Because some people are really overwhelmed and they are touching depression. Very important that they get some professional help. So I would describe this. I would summarize this with these three concepts, which is for all of us. But as we are getting towards the end, and you are a professional, you are an entrepreneur, you have changed completely your life and your career and the way you give to others. You have an audience right now that is basically global. There are women and men probably, but everywhere in the world. There are some from the States, from Europe. There are some from Asia. There are women who are in a condition of really, really hard conditions where are trying to work, but they have in situations of they really have to change social norms. Some are maybe in war, geographies. So, what are your two or three thoughts for us in addition to what you shared? There's something that will give us,
Yes.
the strength of, okay, it's okay to be confused. It's okay to search
Okay, so I have four, and they're very simple.
for.
Okay, the first I already mentioned, and that is live with intention. Okay, when I got laid off and I was sitting around doing nothing and wasting time and being depressed, okay, I realized that I really needed to live my life with intention, meaning that every moment of my life, I might decide that I'm going to binge watch Netflix all night, or I might decide that I'm going to take a break or not be happy or spend time with family or work or give. But every moment is intentional, right? So that you
Yeah,
have the best life ever. Second is live in the moment, right? We might have mundane tasks that we're doing, or we might have be in celebration with family, or we might be in a tragic event or whatever. We might have, the good, the bad, the ups and the downs. We have so little time, right, throughout our life to live in that moment and truly feel. Okay, that's number two. Number two, by golly, love yourself. You are enough. You are amazing. You have beautiful, special, unique gifts that only you have that can impact people in this world. Hug yourself. Know that you are enough. And finally, it is about giving to others. And giving to others is actually selfish. And I'll tell you why, Gabriella, because when you give to somebody, you help that other person and they feel good. But there's that two-way back to you where you feel good, right? So if you're ever feeling down, if you're feeling like you're not enough, or you got laid off, or you're lonely, whatever it is, go help somebody.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
close is give to others is
Yeah.
a selfish two-way, action to make yourself feel better.
Actually, I want to share one more, which is one you and I connected the first time, right? And we said, there are phases in life, there are transitions, bigger, smaller, doesn't matter. But for sure, there are no exceptional women. There are exceptional journeys. Do you
Yeah.
recall when we said, and because it's easy to look back and even appreciate those phases of when you had time to think and ideate your future and decide what to do and so forth was also scary, but as life is a series of if you small or big transitions. Right? And the journey is what we needed to be. We need to be super committed to make our own journey exceptional. Everybody has a wonderful story to share, sometimes hard, sometimes with, pain and joy, like all lives on this planet. And what is making us exceptional is the love for that journey, the love yourself, be in present in the moment,
Yeah.
live with intention, and then finally, but not really finally, right? Find the joy in giving to others because that's how we're gonna build a community.
Yes.
So, well, I want to thank you and, well, really wish you the best. I'm sure that we're going to be stay in touch. And to all the people who have been listening to us, I hope you enjoyed the authenticity that Stephanie brings, but also how not please notice her courage and how authentically she shared the ups and downs of her life. So this is something that connects all of us. That means that all transitions are possible, and we just need to follow the four advices from Stephanie. Thank you all. And now, because we mentioned the hug, we're going to finish with a hug. Bye, everybody.